Here's how one window fitter dumped his £500 magazine budget into Facebook ads and earned 24k as a result. In this video, I'm going to take you through a story for our client Energy Windows who was using this magazine, paying £500 every single month to feature in it, to be delivered into multiple houses, and how when he made the switch to Facebook ads, he actually added 24k in new pipeline revenue in just 1 month. So if you're still relying on old school magazines just like this one, then this video is really going to open your eyes on how good it is to advertise using the new digital methods and why many more businesses are switching to this and stopping relying on, pieces of crap like this. So I'm just taking a look at this magazine as it stands, and I'm flicking through some of the pages in here, and I'm just looking at this page, for example. I'll get a bit closer so you can see it. And look at all these ads. They're just all together, stuffed in. You can't really focus on anything. How, if you're a business owner, how can you get your company to stand out here? It's all cluttered together with loads of other different random businesses. There's mobile foot care next to a bloody steamy Windows company ad. Like, how are you supposed to concentrate on that? And, looking at some of these ads, there's no offers, there's no real reason why someone should act now, take the decision to call these companies. So, I'm not surprised in our company's case, Energy Windows, that nobody was contacting him, because who the fuck is still reading this stuff? I mean, I did see a fact that this kind of stuff does stay around in people's houses for approximately 2 weeks, but the only reason I'm reading it is because I'm looking at it, I'm seeing in here the local companies that I can help get into the mainstream media these days, the thing that everyone's using. Everyone's got a phone in the hand, people feel connected to the phone, and that's where people are getting the most success with advertisements, not this paper stuff that comes through your door. And the main issues with these magazines, it's literally spray and pray. You can't track any kind of data unless you link it to some sort of discount code, which is, sometimes not what you want to be doing with these kind of, lead generation ads that are in here. You can't really target people directly. You're just targeting, the generic homeowner. How can you really speak to your audience? How can you really put a message down to make people move and make people take action? You just can't do it. Again, there's no data, there's no follow-ups, there's no retargeting. Magazines used to be great before the new wave of media, which is now digital, but you really gotta be thinking about, how can I get into this mainstream media? How can I get where all the eyeballs are, which is people on the phones day in, day out? You've really got to put the magazines down, move your budget, and start testing and learning how to use the main. And that's exactly what Energy Windows have done with our help. So Energy Windows, once advertised in this magazine, switched his £500 budget. He was a man in a van, and he was doing windows and doors for people in the local area. So he switched it up, he moved it from the magazine because he was getting 0 results. So he thought, time to try something new, try to get into the new age of media. That's where we linked up with him, and we helped him, take the next steps. So we got him invested in Facebook and Instagram ads. You can start with as little as £1 a day if you wanted, but £500 minimum. We experimented with it, and we actually seen really good results really, really quickly. But the difference here is, with Facebook and Instagram, we can track people. We can target people in the radius that he wanted to, which was 25 miles outside Stoke-on-Trent. And we could also dip into a little bit of Cheshire. We could use the results, we could optimize the results, and we could really help guide Facebook on how to find his best audience. So instead of this spray and pay bollocks that you do through this stuff, we were targeted, we were measurable, and we were specific, and we were running some really great lead gen ads. So here's how we helped Energy Windows, and first things first, we had to help him really go back to basics with it. So you have to make sure your Facebook and Instagram profiles are just set up from, we call it an organic standpoint, but just your bog standard profile. Make sure you've got a bio, make sure you've got somewhere where people can come click through to your website if you had one. You don't necessarily need a website, because there's things you can do with Facebook and Instagram ads, which means you don't need a website, but get your base profile sorted, get the messaging sorted, speak to the right people, Make it easy for people to know exactly what you're doing really, really quickly. Get a good profile picture, get a good banner that goes in the background so people know what it is you're about, what it is that you do, before and afters of your work, show your work, tell the world what it is, what you do. Also, we encouraged him to start doing a few posts because when you're running Facebook ads, you don't want to start with a complete naked profile. You want to have something on there so it at least looks like you're a legit business. Next, we helped him with some other basics. We set up his Meta Business Suite, we set up his ad account, and we set up his Facebook pixel. Really, really important to get these things sorted. The business suite is the main hub for where you go into the back end, and there's countless videos on YouTube on this. All you'd have to do is search it and it'll show you how to do the business suite and ad account. But if you want me to do it, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video on it. And next, we then move to the Facebook pixel. Really, really important when it comes to advertising on Facebook and Instagram, because what that pixel does, it's a snippet of code, really, really basic level. You move that code, you put it into the header, or you put it into one of the plugins on your site. And then what this does, it actually tracks the movements from platforms like Facebook and Instagram to your website. So when you start running ads, it starts optimizing to the right people who are taking the right actions, or the actions that you want them to take on your website from Facebook. Really, really important, because it really helps Facebook optimize your ads to show them more to the right people and to more of the people that you actually want to sell your stuff to. Also, like I said, he was a one-man band, right? He was a man in his van. He was used to, using these magazines to advertise. So we had to teach him some of the basics. We had to encourage him to actually invest in a better iPhone. So at one point he was using a bit of a potato, right? It took all right before and afters, but he really needed to upgrade it. Any standard iPhone or Samsung Android phone takes way better pictures than most. So he upgraded his phone. We gave him some pointers. There's bloody a shit ton of content out there. Look at TikTok already. It's really easy to search on there. You can look at the Facebook ad library to see what your competitors are doing. We had to send him some content to look at and teach him the steps that he needed to do to go and take some really good content for the ads. Now, we told him that 60% of the ads that we see that are successful are actually video now. Everything's geared towards, the reels and moving motion pictures and video. So that was really important. And it's quite easy to do with before and afters of doors and windows. So that's exactly what we helped him do. And again, an example of this is we helped him make this. He had an interesting black and purple-ish glass door, which was a great before and after. The before, it was an absolute tatty door and it really needed some TLC. So we did that, and we did like a quick before and after video, and it's right here. So this is what it is. This is what we did for him. And that ad actually printed 10 leads within the first 2 days. So it was a really, really great ad, and it's something that's really easy to replicate. So the takeaways here are: get your setup right, invest in a decent smartphone, and start taking befores and afters of all your work or whatever it is that you do. So next, and probably the most important part to all this, is we helped him craft his offer. So in this magazine, his offer was a basic: you want some windows? Call us. Now, everyone's doing this kind of thing. Call us, get a free quote, get a free consultation. It's all right, okay? It's pretty bog standard. Most people expect it. And this is where the thinking comes in with the Facebook ads and the Instagram ads. And to be honest, any kind of advertising, because you need to go and nail your offer to give people what they want and make people act today rather than tomorrow. So what we did with the Facebook and Instagram side of it was we had a look into his business. We found out that he was buying windows from a big manufacturer, actually in my hometown, and I've actually used them for windows on my house. So that was great. So I also knew them quite well, and it turned out that they actually offer a 10-year guarantee on their windows and doors. And I was like, why aren't you using this in your offer, in your marketing? So what we did was we paired up the free consultation that he was offering, this 10-year guarantee on windows and doors, and we threw in the free consultation and the free call, right? So together, that offer was actually quite solid, and it was actually quite attractive to new buyers and people that were doing it, right? So because you got other bigger companies in the windows and door space offering finance. He couldn't do it. He was a man in his van. He needed something for his local area that would outperform all the other other little window and door fitters. So, you know, this was really nice and he had a real competitive advantage by using this manufacturer. So sometimes it's not about what you can offer, you know, is someone that's supplying you stuff, did they have an offer? Are they a lot bigger than you and they have offers on their things? You can then use that in your own marketing and use it as your own offer. So you just have to have a little think about that and how you can leverage that to look like your competitive advantage. So the next part of the puzzle was actually running the ads. And this is actually relatively straightforward and most people can do this. All you have to do is once you've got your ad manager set up, and I'm assuming you've already got to that stage, if you're this far through the video, then you know, all you have to do is put a really basic campaign together. The most mistakes I see in ad accounts or beginners in the construction space wanting to run ads, they try and make it way too complicated. So they have too many targeting options, they have too many campaigns, they have too many ad sets, they have too many ads for the budget that we're spending. Remember, we're just using £500 here, so that's actually not a lot, but you can have a really simple structure, one campaign, one ad set, and 3 ads, and that is a really good way to test what's working and put yourself out in the market with the brief spend that you do have. And if you're wondering how to do this, I actually have a video here on the best structure for construction-based businesses, so be sure to check that out. It walks you through how to set this up step by step, so don't miss that. It's really easy. It's something you can plug into your business. It's literally a copy and paste structure, so check that out and get that installed if you're thinking about running some Facebook ads rather than, you know, wasting your cash on these magazines. Again, when it comes down to targeting with this stuff, you know, like I said, people make it way too complicated. The only targeting you need to do, particularly if you're a one-man band, two-man band, you know, you've got a few lads, you've got a few vans, then you only really need to target your local area, unless you've got the capacity to service the whole of the UK, which I probably doubt that. But that's the only real targeting you need to do. You need to set your location to something that you're comfortable with. It might be 25 miles, 50 miles, whatever it is that you can make work, you set that. And that actually is a real help because rather than expanding it to the whole of the UK, you will actually cut out some of the big national advertisers with deeper pockets, bigger money, ones that are outspending you and can have, you know, the mediocre offer, but because they can spend more, it actually drowns your ads out. So that can be your competitive advantage as well. And you just need to outcompete those in the area. And actually, if you look at Facebook ad library and see what the ads are in your area that are being ran, it really isn't that hard to outcompete some of these people. You just have to put a little bit of effort in with your offer and a little bit of effort in with what kind of graphics, images, videos that you're showing as well. Again, you don't need massive amounts of ads. Like I said, 3 will do it at first. You can test different types. You can test a static image. You can test a video, a carousel, and maybe on one ad you test a slightly different offer to another one. You can just keep it really straightforward. Personally, I don't like changing too many variables at once. So I'd go with one offer across all 3 ads, see what's working. In a week's time, come back, check them, and then turn off any underperformers. You just want to look at the results and basically don't want to bother with the faff of all the other, you know, results, the clicks, the CPMs. Just forget about that from the time being. The only thing that you should be bothered about is the leads coming through your business. If you're not seeing any leads, you need to make a change. Another great thing about switching from, you know, the magazine stuff to the digital side of it is that you can actually manage your leads better. So what we did for Energy Windows, we actually installed a CRM system. So this is just simply a customer relationship management system, and think of it as a really fancy Excel, just a piece of software that creates a pipeline. You can do all sorts in there. It creates a pipeline. You can see what sales you've got going on. You can record notes, you can record phone calls. But what's really great about it is you can actually, you know, engage with lead follow-up here, which is really important, right? You've got to follow up fast with these leads because people's memories are inherently short. They're like bloody fucking Finding Nemo, not Finding Nemo, like Dory out of Finding Nemo, right? They look at something and then they instantly forget and it's like, oh, they're pottering on to the next thing. So what's great about these CRM systems is you can set up automations for email and text messages. So as soon as the lead comes in, bang, they're getting hit from your company. You know, thank you for inquiring. Someone will be in contact in the next 24 hours. But what you want to do is you want to look at your pipeline, you want to get back with them within 5 minutes if possible. The longer you leave these leads, the colder they go, and the colder they go, the worse the quality. So you need to really strike when the iron's hot and get in touch with them as soon as possible. But once you've got a system like this is what makes it possible, right? You're not just dealing with scraps of paper or Excel documents. It's all put in a nice place. It's all been set up for you by someone like myself, and you can just go and do what you need to do to secure the new business. Again, this is the critical difference between that and a magazine. Like, some people might see the magazine, call you, maybe they don't get through, and you end up forgetting about who they were. It's a random number, you don't know who they were. But if it's all filtered through a nice system through Facebook into your CRM system, then you know exactly where they've come from, who they are, what they were interested in. And that's just the big difference with the magazine, and that's why it's worth spending a bit more or moving your budget into the new generation of media rather than relying on this old traditional way of actually doing marketing. So that's something to think about. It's so important, and it's so much easier to manage and track your leads. So the results of doing all this for energy windows were actually quite good, and they were actually really fast as well, to be honest. So first things first, we generated him 24K in pipeline revenue within month 1. Month 2, he was actually working with a previous agency that were getting him ridiculously high cost per leads at about £47. We actually halved that by month 2 to £18. Well, more than halved it. But by month 3, when the system was running, your lead quality increased. He was getting more quotes than he'd ever had before. And, he was really happy with how things were going. Similarly, it actually, running these ads for him, actually woke up his dormant website. He had a website and he was getting all these leads coming through. He was like, whoa, where the hell are all these coming from? And, it's no coincidence that we start running ads and his website just comes alive out of nowhere. People check you out, right? They might click your ad, they might go over to your website, and then they might inquire there. And that's exactly what happened. And, some of these leads that came in were that good from Facebook and Instagram. One guy, he came in, wanted a full house door and window refit, and it turned out he had a portfolio of houses and they all needed doing as well. So that was an absolute massive chunk of revenue just off, one lead. Granted, not every single lead is born equal. You have to remember some will be poor, but the amount of time you take to follow up will really impact these leads. Again, you're not the only advertiser. You're not the only person scrambling, trying, grafting for this business. So you really need to get on with the follow-up and really be professional about it as well. So in total, magazine, 500 quid, no leads, Facebook, 500 quid, 24K in new pipeline revenue. It's a no-brainer, right? These print ads are fucking dying. They're dying on its arse. Don't use them. Use the new form of media. That's where everyone is, and that's where the attention is. These platforms have the biggest attention rates known to man. People say Facebook's dead. No, it's not. People are scrolling on there day in, day out. And usually when it comes to a window fit and you're looking for homeowners, Facebook and Instagram, they're absolutely ideal because it's the older demographic, it's the 30 pluses that use these platforms that have the disposable income to go and do a window fit, right? So you need to get on this, you need to act, and you need to give it a go. So if you're tired of spending on magazines, leaflets, directories, things like that, then this could be a real viable option for you. And it's something where it can actually put lead generation back into your hands rather than just relying on, magazines or directories like Check a Trade or Bark or wherever it may be. So definitely worth a try. Like I said, I've got a few videos on my channel that you could find interesting. YouTube's probably gonna put up the best recommended one here. So definitely give that a view, and thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with me, and I will see you in the next video where I'll be dropping more tips, tricks, and more information about what I'm finding with my clients that I have too.